November 19th, NASA finally held their press conference. They released the high-rise images from Mars' orbit, the most detailed photographs of an interstellar object ever captured, 3 times better resolution than Hubble. The images NASA confirmed to Congress show abnormal tail behavior. And what did they show us? A blurry smudge, a fuzzy ball of light, and the official message, it's a comet. Nothing to see here. But here's what makes this devastating. Loeb predicted it an hour before the press conference. Let me tell you why this is both disappointing and revealing, and why Loeb's response exposes everything wrong with how NASA handled this. The high-rise image, available now on NASA's website, shows exactly what Loeb said it would: a fuzzy ball of light with 30 kilometers per pixel spatial resolution at Atlas's distance of 30 million kilometers from Mars. But here's the kicker, and NASA barely mentioned this. Due to spacecraft jitter during the observation period, the light from Atlas is smeared by several pixels. Spacecraft jitter? The camera was shaking. The most important interstellar object observation in history, and the spacecraft was vibrating enough to blur the image across multiple pixels. So we have 30 kilometer per pixel resolution, which sounds impressive, except the actual object is smeared across several pixels, making the effective resolution much worse. What should have been sharp detail became a blur. We waited 48 days, fought through congressional pressure, watched China release their images first, all to see a smeared fuzzy ball that tells us almost nothing new. But NASA's representatives stood at that press conference and declared victory. It's a comet. It does what comets do. It sheds gas and dust. It responds to gravity. Case closed. Not a single mention of the 12 anomalies. Not one acknowledgement of the puzzles. Not even a hint that anything might be unusual about this object. Let me list what NASA didn't mention, what they completely ignored. The 12 documented anomalies that make Atlas unprecedented. 1. Trajectory aligned with planetary disk. 2. Persistent anti-tail pointing toward the sun. 3. Million times more massive than Oumuamua while moving faster. 4. Perfect timing for planetary approaches while hidden from Earth. 5. Industrial metal ratios. 6. Only 4% water content. 7. Extreme negative polarization. 8. Wow. Signal directional correlation. 9. Bluer than the sun despite being cold. 10. Jets requiring impossible surface area. 11. No fragmentation despite requiring massive mass loss. 12. Collimated jets, maintaining orientation across 1 million kilometers despite rotation. 12 puzzles, 0 mentions, complete silence. Instead, NASA officials insisted Atlas is a familiar comet from a new birth environment. They said it does what comets do. But as Loeb points out, a spacecraft that collected dust and CO2 ice on its surface by traveling through cold interstellar medium could also develop an outer layer that sublimates when illuminated. The appearance of outgassing doesn't prove natural origin. It proves there's ice on the surface. That's it. Loeb invokes the Trojan Horse. The city of Troy saw a wooden horse. It looked harmless. It appeared to be a gift. They judged the book by its cover, and it destroyed them. We should not fall prey to traditional thinking, but scrutinize new interpretations. Loeb writes, we should not judge a book by its cover. NASA looked at a fuzzy ball showing gas and dust and said, comet. Traditional thinking. Expected answer. Safe conclusion. But Loeb quotes Sherlock Holmes. There is nothing more deceptive than an obvious fact. The obvious fact: Atlas has a coma and shows outgassing. The deceptive part? Assuming that proves it's natural. Holmes also said, it is a capital mistake to theorize before one has data. Insensibly, one begins to twist facts to suit theories, instead of theories to suit facts. And Loeb adds, I wish NASA's representatives shared this wisdom. That's devastating. NASA theorized COMET from day one, then spent months twisting observations to fit that theory, ignoring anomalies, dismissing puzzles, declaring the case closed before collecting comprehensive data. But here's where it gets truly embarrassing for NASA. The most interesting images of Atlas weren't from their multi-million-dollar Mars orbiter. They were from amateur astronomers with backyard telescopes. In recent weeks, amateur astronomers captured images showing tightly collimated jets extending 1 million kilometers toward and away from the Sun. Structure, detail, morphology, clear evidence of organized outflows, Loeb writes. These amateur astronomer images are far more exciting than the high-rise image shared by NASA's officials. Think about that. Amateurs with modest equipment provided better science than NASA's flagship Mars mission, because the amateurs weren't constrained by spacecraft jitter. They weren't limited by bureaucratic messaging. They just pointed their telescopes and shared what they saw. NASA had the best equipment, the best position, the closest view, and delivered a blurry smudge with an official declaration that nothing's interesting. Now, let's talk about the statistical impossibility NASA completely ignored. Atlas is 1 million times more massive than Oumuamua and 1,000 times more massive than Borisov. Given the limited reservoir of material in interstellar space, you would expect to discover 1 million objects the size of Oumuamua, or 1,000 objects the size of Borisov before finding something as massive as Atlas. Unless, as Loeb points out, this rare massive package was intentionally targeting the inner solar system, NASA's. Officials should have at least acknowledged this unlikely fortune. Instead, they acted like it's normal for the third interstellar object ever detected to be perfectly aligned for easy observation and absurdly more massive than expected. Either NASA got incredibly lucky, or Atlas was designed to be observable. But at the press conference, no mention. Just, it's a comet. Loeb also revealed something critical in his response. 3 weeks ago, he recommended NASA check for accompanying objects, fragments from breakup, or mini-probes released toward Mars and Earth. Did NASA look? Did they check Mars rovers and orbiters for debris or impacts? Did they scan for released components? If they did, they didn't mention it. If they didn't, that's a massive oversight. Because if Atlas is a mothership that released probes, we should be looking for them. And if it's a natural comet that fragmented, we should see the pieces. Either way, checking for accompanying objects is basic due diligence. But NASA showed us a fuzzy ball and called it done. Now here's the good news. The real investigation isn't over. NASA's disappointing reveal doesn't close the case. It just reveals that bureaucratic space agencies aren't the ones who will solve this mystery. In the coming weeks, larger ground-based telescopes, Hubble, and Webb will characterize Atlas's jets. They'll measure composition, outflow speed, mass loading rate. This is the data that matters. Spectroscopy will show if the jets move at a few hundred meters per second, indicating natural thermal sublimation, or a few kilometers per second, indicating technological propulsion. The difference is definitive. Natural outgassing has characteristic speeds. Artificial thrusters have completely different velocity profiles. The data will distinguish them without ambiguity. December 19th, Atlas makes closest approach to Earth. Webb and Hubble will have optimal viewing. The spectroscopic data will arrive, and we'll know. NASA can declare COMET all they want. The physics doesn't care about official mantras. The velocity measurements will tell the truth. Loeb ends his response with this: bureaucrats or unimaginative scientists want us to believe in the expected, but the rest of us know that the best is yet to come. That's the message. NASA delivered the expected: fuzzy image, safe conclusion, bureaucratic messaging. Nothing surprising, nothing controversial, nothing that challenges assumptions. But the rest of us, the ones paying attention to the 12 anomalies, the ones who noticed amateur astronomers captured better images, the ones who understand that 100,000 to 1 luck requires explanation, we know this isn't over. The best data is still coming. And when those measurements come in, when the spectroscopy shows jet velocities that can't be explained by sublimating ice, NASA's fuzzy ball press conference will look even more inadequate than it already does. The high-rise reveal was disappointing, but it wasn't definitive. Amateur astronomers already provided better images. Professional observatories will provide better data. December 19th. The real data arrives. Stay tuned. Because what NASA couldn't or wouldn't show us, Webb and Hubble will reveal without bureaucratic filter. The truth is coming, and no amount of fuzzy balls will stop it.